Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed the premiere with Catherine Christensen and Corbin sharing his story about how he was offered MAID. This is my first live in God knows how long. My channel got blocked for a while. I wasn't able to get them up and running. So if you're tuning in, man, I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from. I gotta get an idea. Like, are you a veteran? Are you tuning in from the US? Are you tuning in from Canada? Are you tuning in from the UK? Man, I'm seeing people from Sweden tuning in. That's crazy. So, welcome if you're tuning in on X or if you're tuning in on YouTube. Please feel free to drop some comments here. The point of the live is to get a feel for what you guys are up to and what you guys are concerned with. And if you did watch the premiere with the unveiling, from my perspective, of this whole MAID issue and having another veteran come forward and say, like, yeah, Veterans Affairs here in Canada just offered me MAID, offered to off myself. This is a bit troubling, and I think it's just the time and place now to have a really big boy discussion, as I posted earlier today on LinkedIn. So um, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Anybody from the Vets for Freedom group, welcome. Streaming on your side as well. So welcome, fellas, ladies. I want to get into this topic a little bit more deeply because a lot of things were brought up, but in the format we have, we can't really get deep into where all this is coming from. And I'll be honest, I'm coming at this from kind of I'm not going to say virgin eyes, but I heard about MAID being offered to veterans last year through a group chat. And it was kind of en passant. Hey, did you hear Buddy got offered MAID by Veterans Affairs? And we all just went, what? No, that doesn't make any sense. How could that be? That must be a mistake or broken telephone, right? Because why would Veterans Affairs, who is mandated to help veterans, be offering suicide? Doesn't make any sense. I thought the whole point was to prevent that from happening. So that was my first exposure to it, and it actually led to Mark, which we'll get into in a second. Mark Meinke taking it a step further and really digging into this, right, to the point where he ended up on Parliament. So we'll get into that in a second. So that was kind of like my first exposure to it, and recently too, out of the blue, Kelsey Sheeran, who I wasn't tracking until like 2 months ago, which now makes no sense. She's huge in terms of followers, in terms of influence. I didn't even know she was Canadian. She completely slipped my radar somehow, and she's been banging this drum now with Mark for over a year, and now I'm getting on board. I'm not happy. This is not right. So it was really an honor to be able to talk to Catherine and Corbin about this issue. And also, I want to bring up kind of where all this got spurred. So, if you weren't tracking, there was an episode just recently released by Andy Stumpf and his Cleared Hot podcast. So, if you saw the episode, yeah, give me a thumbs up in the comments. Let me know what you thought. I'm going to show just a quick clip of the episode to give you an idea of like what Catherine was talking about if you watch the premiere, and give us a little bit of context as to the MAID issue and how it's kind of popping off in the United States as well, because they see this as kind of a big deal as well. So let's just tune into that for a second.
Are being done by a nonprofit. So I don't charge legal fees to bring these cases. So the nonprofit brings cases relating to CAF. For example, we have another case where a 23-year-old veteran was offered medical assistance in dying when he reached out for mental health support from back.
What?
Yeah. And this happened to several people, and some have accepted the offer. So
I read an article recently. I didn't realize that Canada allowed the medical or the choosing to end your life.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the leading causes of death in Canada right now, and it's made us the number one country in the world for organ transplants.
Okay, I'll just pause right there. That's and Andy gets into in a second. I'm just going to show you some quick stats here to back up what Catherine's saying. So when it comes to MAID deaths in Canada, so Alberta, and this is not including 2023 data because I guess it hasn't been tabulated yet. Alberta up 41% from 594 folks to 836 folks. Ontario up 27% from 3,102 to 3,934. Quebec up 51%. As a fellow Quebecer, born and raised, Quebec already has a very bad suicide problem. Always has. I don't know the sociological reasons why. I think it affects mostly the Francophone population. I'm not exactly sure why, but percentage-wise, there's not a lot of Anglos here, but percentage-wise, it affects more Francos than Anglo. I don't know why. Maybe the Francos can help me out there. Salut tous les francophones. This is troubling, man. And then nationwide, it's up 34%, 10,000 to 13,500. And this says projection for nationwide. So clearly the numbers weren't completely finalized yet. So is this an upward trend? Is this something now that we're going to see more and more of? I don't know. These numbers are troubling. So that gives a little bit more context as to what Catherine is saying as being one of the leading causes of death, because 13,500 is a significant amount of deaths from medical assistance and dying. Okay, so back to the episode here.
Oh, there's a whole
You
tinfoil
actually
hat
on the paper
filing cabinet there.
Yeah, in the paperwork for MAID is a paragraph where you agree that your organs will be donated.
You have to agree to that?
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about that. I do feel I am glad that people have a humane. Again, any tool. Tools have their designed purpose. They can be used improperly. I watched my own mother suffer through cancer twice. The second time ended up taking her life well over a decade ago. But not that she would made that choice, but I would have understood it if she did make that choice. I actually heard about the Canadian program, Jim Shockey, incredible outdoorsman and husband. His wife made that choice, and I read an article about it, and it's what kind of led me down the rabbit hole. I could see it being improperly used, which sucks, but I do appreciate that they have that option.
Right. Yeah. But it shouldn't be the first thing that a 23-year-old healthy veteran is offered when he calls back and says, I am not doing well, I need mental health help.
I don't know if it should be on the plate to ever be offered to that person in the first call.
I mean, veterans are a very vulnerable population. Add into it, they now have told active service members that if they choose MAID, their death will be treated like a combat death.
What?
So their family will be taken care of. Their funeral they'll get the military funeral. They'll get the whole thing. So those are the type.
So that's two shocked responses from Andy, and shout out to Andy. We don't know each other, but man, thanks so much for highlighting what's going on here in Canada. Like, thanks, buds. Because I mean, this is hard to take in. I don't know if you're a veteran and you're watching. Does this get you a little bit fired up? Is this fire up the engines a little bit? If it does, drop it in the comments. I'd like to know why as well. Because for me, like Andy said, like nobody should be offered this as a veteran, because Veterans Affairs is essentially a aid agency in terms of it's supposed to help you get back on your feet and back into society. It's not supposed to be there to kill you. How does that look when it comes to trust? Because for me, it's completely eroded the trust of the organization. Because am I just waiting for my case manager to drop a bomb on me and be like, oh, hey, by the way, Dave, like you're not doing so well. Things haven't been picking up for you. Have you just thought about ending it? Don't worry, though. We got your family. Like Corbin, he seems like a sweet guy. And he said he got angry. I don't know how fired up a guy like him gets. He seems pretty low key. I can tell you one thing. If I get a phone call like that and the other person on the line better be paying attention, getting their heels together because they're getting a blast. that's unacceptable to me. So curious to know how you think about that whole issue, and what you would perceive that as if you got that phone call from somebody at Veterans Affairs. Just some comments rolling in here um, from Thomas and Catherine Deneau. Correct veterans should never be offered made from Veterans Affairs. And from Freedom Warriors, holy BS. Yeah. Yeah. Um, you know, just to exemplify here, just a few of the other points, like the organ harvesting. That's a whole other podcast. I don't even have the energy to get into that. I don't have any of the data. That is just a whole, like you said, a whole like filing cabinet of tinfoil hat stuff. That, man, what do you do, what do you even do with that? So that's a thing. But any veteran should have at least the ability to call Veterans Affairs without the worry that they're going to be offered made. And they also went into the fact that service members are being offered made. And I wanted to dig into this a little bit. I wanted to get a little bit of resolution on this. So I found something to back this up. Now, obviously, this isn't mainstream media. Surprise, surprise. But surprisingly enough, this was dropped in October 5th, 2023. Man, like, how did this slip the radar? So let's just get into the topic here. So the Canadian Armed Forces and all of its members exist inside a bubble. And let me just share this so you guys can read along with me. Um, the CAF has its own stringent laws, justice system, lingo, traditions, and responsibilities. Every year before Christmas block leave, units gather all their personnel and for annual briefings. Just highlight that here. These briefings rarely change content, constantly focus on mental health. Okay. So if you've been in, you've had these briefings, right? Hey, it's a bad time of year. If you're struggling, make sure to reach out. The mental health services provided by the military has been described by soldiers as laughable, with warnings to prepare yourself for visits to multiple people until you find one who gives a shit. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty standard. I mean, it just is what it is. And you kind of shrug your shoulders and go, all right, well, I guess I'm on my own on this. So one paragraph here that I really liked as well, which is this one here. COVID lockdowns with stay-at-home orders, forced mask wearing, and vaccine mandates resulting in criminal charges against soldiers who refuse to follow unlawful orders exacerbated the already rampant mental health issues in the military. And I would echo that, these issues haven't been resolved. I mean, I'm pretty sure and I wasn't in, pretty sure I'm still recoiling and trying to take in everything that happened during that whole lockdown period and that whole COVID era. Like here in Quebec, we had curfews after 8 p.m. Like, what was that? We had to show papers to go into Ontario. All clear breaches of the charter, but everybody just kind of went along. It was like, yeah, yeah. Well, we gotta protect grandma, which was such bullshit because we've never given a shit about our elderly. Like, let's be honest. One of the worst cases of abuse happened literally down the road from me in Dorval. There's just stacking bodies of dead old people. It was disgusting, like just disgusting. They left them to die, and they've always left them to die. The conditions have always been shit. So this whole idea that we're protecting grandma, please don't give me that. Um, so it goes on to say that, and this is something I've covered in another podcast, that the mandates were deemed to be against the troops' charter rights. So surprise, surprise, when you force people to do stuff, yeah, it's against your charter rights. And then one thing that's really troubling is this here. So I'm going to highlight this. Currently, a fatal condition is not required to access MAID. Post-traumatic stress disorder, which is extremely common amongst soldiers and veterans, meets all the required criteria. MAID has been solicited to veterans with PTSD by Veterans Affairs in the past, as we know now. New legislation slotted for release March 2023 was rescheduled to be released on 17 March 2024. And we'll get into that in a second. This new legislation allows mental illness such as anxiety, depression, and drug addiction as justification for MAID with intent to lower the age requirement drastically to encompass mature minors within the next 5 years. Holy guacamole. That's not good. Look, I'm not typically a conservative dude, but when you start bringing in people that have drug addictions and PTSD and like, yeah, you're feeling kind of sad today. Hey, man, like, let's just check out. Like, let's just check out. Don't worry, we'll take care of your kids. Guys, how do you feel about that? Let's check the comments. Ethos and Eros. Thanks, guys. Love your feed on Insta, by the way. Thanks for the shout out. I have some MAID info for people to see if they want to. So, folks, head over, just type in Ethos and Eros to Instagram, find their channel. They'll sort you out. They're doing some good work over there. So shout out to you guys as well. Well done. Let's go to, I have a 99-page Access to Information Act release concerning MAID. Holy moly. Oh, that's going to be fire. Can't wait to see that. And Tanya, this is horrifying. I agree. It's terrible. So what this all means is that what they're doing, and I'll get into this here too. I'll actually give it a little bit more. Let's go full in. Let's go full in. It's my live. I can do what I want. I can do what I want. You guys are making it easy because you're commenting. So unlike when I was a teacher teaching high school kids and I just get blank stares when I would ask them questions about like how to do like 8 times 8, you guys are interacting. So gold star for all you guys. Appreciate it. Nick, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it, man. Any member who receives MAID is entitled to the same benefits as members who die of natural causes or in combat, although the specific cause of death would not be linked to the benefits. Funeral or cremation services compensated would be an amount not exceeding the Treasury Board's set rate of $16,000. This is so bureaucratic. It just makes it kind of like, yeah, it's just like going to go fill out like a 638. Just fill out your MAID form. Fucking bingo, bango. You're in. You're not out. Family taken care of. We pay for the funeral. You're all good, bro. It can be applied to defray the cost of a dignified funeral and burial of a reasonable quality for a deceased member. The list of services covered is lengthy. According to the Department of National Defense, no soldiers have opted to utilize the service fully. What does that mean? Fully? Like they've gone in and like, no, stop. What's fully? What does that mean? But the fact that it's offered as substitute for or as treatment for sick and injured soldiers is deplorable. Yeah. Like these are soldiers. It's the enemy that's supposed to kill them. Maybe a training accident. Not your own government that's like, oh, by the way, thanks for signing on the dotted line that you give up your mind and your body for service to the country. But if it gets a little too hard for you because we've created a shit working condition for you and you can't cope with what you've done and seen, yeah, well, you know what? We'll do you a solid. We'll just end it. Try not to swear because I don't want YouTube to cancel my channel again. Okay. Try not to. All right. Back to the comments. Nick, what do you got to say here, man? It's starting to look like a mix of Futurama and Idiocracy. Yeah. You're exactly right. Yeah. The suicide booth. Just how is it possible that these are actually documentaries? They're just like future casting documentaries. If you haven't seen Futurama, guys, you got to check it out. And Idiocracy is probably my favorite movie too. It's full of electrolytes. All right. So let's dig into a little bit more of what we're talking about here and look at Kelsey Sheeran and her role in this whole thing. So she's been really pushing this, and I guess there's like an ebb and flow in terms of kind of the interest. And interestingly enough, I have a business coach in the UK. And 6 months ago, we're just on a call. He's like, hey, mate, he's like, what's going on with you guys killing your veterans? And I was like, that's a terrible British accent. I'm sorry, Alex. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm like, well, yeah. How'd you hear about that? Because I'm just tracking the little bit that I know from like text messages and stuff like that. And he's like, oh no, I just saw something on the news. And I was like, on the news? Well, that's weird. I didn't see anything on the news. Well, obviously, I don't really watch the news, and mainstream media is just a write off for me. Turns out, Kelsey is on Piers Morgan. So obviously, the British dude is watching Piers Morgan and tracking her awesome interview. I watched it literally 2 days ago. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I've never seen this before. And now can't find it. It's like it's been like wiped clean off the internet. So I'm going to show the documentary though that's coming up, which I think is going to be absolute fire. So let me share this with you, and you can watch the trailer. So this is on X right now. Let me.
I asked him, and I said, how did they come to the conclusion that I was going to die? He said, because they didn't really know what to do with you.
The government of Canada is killing Canadians, and not just a few, and not just the terminally ill. Over 50,000. So for 50,000.
They essentially evicted us from our buildings because we would not participate in this government euthanasia program.
Well, there is a startling new development in the ongoing controversy around veterans being offered medical assistance in dying.
Instead of help, are you familiar with our MAID program? He said, well, it's better than blowing your brains out against the wall.
Canadians are expecting us to get the job done.
Fraser Health is refusing to give information, and because of that, the police investigation had to close. Therefore, Fraser Health is covering information up.
And we know for a fact that our people in power do not take responsibility for anything. Right. So it's a financial save, a lack of responsibility, and then it's completely easy to just offer it to vulnerable individuals, and then they're going to take it.
Personal freedoms are sacrificed, access denied, suffering ignored, and then foisted upon the families, all in the name of expediency. These are the stories of the families left behind, of the susceptible, the manipulated, and the endangered, and the people desperately fighting to save them. This is MAID, the dark side of Canadian compassion.
Whew. So Kelsey, lighten it up. Proud Canadian veteran. Love it. And everybody, and Mark was there too, which is awesome. I mean, BZ to both of you. Cool to see you guys taking a stand. And this is what's cool about what's happening now. I call it the veteran renaissance, right? The reason why I call it that is because we're not backing down. We're figuring things out. We're putting ourselves on the stage. I'm doing lives. You know, we've got almost 100 people in here, so I'm very thankful for you guys being here and commenting, watching what I have to say. And on that note, don't forget to hit subscribe, eh? Seriously, I know there's a super Canadian thing to say. Subscribe, eh? So yeah, for you American guys, you're welcome. But YouTube has a way of taking your subscriptions away. You got to just be a little diligent. So if you subscribe to like cat channels, they won't take your subscription away. But they will for channels like this, anything related to kind of stuff that's not quite mainstream. They'll take your subscription off, and you'll be like, oh, I didn't see anything from Dave in a little while. I post every week, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. Make sure to hit a like. It ensures that the algorithm is tracking in the right direction. And I forgot to shill my stuff too right at the beginning. I'm not quite good at this yet, but if you notice here, I got a new sweatshirt. This is my favorite sweatshirt now. So you can get your own though, and it's fleecy on the inside. Got great pockets. I'm a poser though because I got like airborne maroon. I'm not an airborne soldier, but I was a grenadier guard, so I can wear the maroon. I think it's part of our brigade patch, but it's got the podcast logo on it. No frills, really basic design, super comfy. Get in different colors too. The link is should be in the description, unless that got canned. Anyways, you'll find it all in the description in this post here. So you can get a hat too. That hat, rock it for May 2-4. Keep the sun out of your eyes. Look fresh at the same time. Okay, done shilling. So carrying on, more with Kelsey because she's been like hammering this, man. So let's just share this too. Short little clip from a podcast that she did.
Support for their TBI and PTSD, medical assistance in dying, meaning they'll call you on the phone and say, hey, I need help. I need to get into psychological treatment. I need to go to some type of treatment facility because I'm not feeling well. I'm not doing this. And the other person on the other line would go, hey, how about MAID? Meaning the government will walk you into a hospital and kill you on the taxpayer dollar and they'll profit from it. Now they're offering it to the mentally ill, addicts, and the homeless. That's eugenics.
This is like a
this is right now.
This is like a widely known program.
Yes, it's in the entire country of Canada. And your government's not trying to actively kill you. Ours is. Ours is using MAID.
MAID?
MAID. Medical assistance in dying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up. Kelsey just fires from the hip. I'm not a fast talker, so I have to think things through. I'm a bit slow. But I love the way she delivers. It's pretty badass. And then carrying on, this is the actual conversation here, folks. This is behind a paywall, so maybe that's what happened. Maybe it just got pulled conveniently when the MAID issues started popping off again. But this is the episode 12, July. So with Piers Morgan, pretty cool to see a Canadian veteran on the international stage like that. So if you can find it, I'd love to get a link to it. But this is all I could find. Literally from 2 days ago, I saw it, and then now it's disappeared. So good job, Kelsey. Moving on to Mark here. Mark was the first contact I had with this topic because he really dug into it and got invited to Parliament, got invited to Ottawa to talk about it. So local veteran provides testimony of alleged assisted suicide offered by Veterans Affairs. I think we're up to 20 or so folks that have confirmed that they've been offered. Most don't come forward and want to be public with it because, well, for obvious reasons, there's privacy concerns, right? Like, I don't know if I'd even be comfortable talking about it if I was offered it like tomorrow when I talk to my case manager. But that being the case, Mark had a really good impact, man. So his podcast is Operation Tango Romeo. Definitely want to check it out. Talks about mental health issues. And I've had him on my show, so you can check out the episode we did. And I'll just show a quick clip here as to like what are we talking about here. So this is from the CBC. So let's run this clip here. And it talks about the expansion of the program that Kelsey was just ripping into 2 seconds ago.
Sources tell our colleagues at Radio Canada tonight that the expansion of medical assistance in dying won't happen before the next federal election. The federal government announced earlier today it was hitting pause on expanding the program to include those suffering from mental illness. That was after a special committee of legislators said Canada's health system just isn't ready for that yet.
What we're saying is that in order for somebody in that intractable situation who's in a mental health nightmare, that, you know, after trying absolutely everything, that eventually they should have that right. But the system needs to be ready, and we need to get it right. And it's clear from the conversations we have that the system is at this time not ready and therefore need more time.
Kate McKenna has been tracking this story from our...
All right, well, that's straight from the mouth of the government. Who the minister is there. I haven't been tracking politics all that closely other than Moose on the Loose and Mr. Sunshine Baby. I kind of get like 8-minute clips because I just can't deal with it. I just can't deal with Canadian politics right now. It just gets me upset, and I like protecting my mindset as much as possible. So you can clearly see that they're tabling it, and we read it, and now we hear it straight from the horse's mouth. Like, if you're in mental hell, okay. My position on that is we all go through some periods of mental health. And in that period, if somebody approaches you as an official and says, hey, man, we see you're going through it. How about we just end it for you? You're vulnerable. Why wouldn't you take it? Seriously, why wouldn't you take it? So I'm curious to know, like, do you think that this is an appropriate way forward for anybody, let alone veterans? They're talking about drug addicts. Drug addicts are human beings, man. Nobody's like a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid and like, hey, I want to grow up to be a drug addict. I have a lot of compassion for drug addicts, man. You know, like, they just fell into it. It's a bad way to cope, but it's just the way they're coping for whatever they had going through their lives. a lot of veterans end up, hitting the sauce. That's drugs. Getting hooked on oxy, it's drugs too. You know, uh, so therefore, what you're no longer recoverable. Is that really what we're saying? Is that really what we want to tell Canadians? Hey, there's a certain point where just like you can never come back. I do personally feel that, like I said earlier, made for those that are terminally ill, that clearly have no way of recovery. We're talking about cancers, we're talking about weird diseases. I'm not a medical doctor, so what am I going to do in terms of like diagnosing or trying to figure out like what is what is relevant for MAID? That's up to the experts, right? And from my understanding, MAID is supposed to be between a doctor and a patient. To have somebody from Veterans Affairs give you a ring and be like, "Yeah, I think based on my non-expert opinion, you should get this service." Man, like, how do we rebuild trust? That's my big question. How does Canada rebuild trust within its veteran community? Because we all know there's a new government coming, right? Like, you'd have to be living on another planet to think somehow the Liberal government is going to be reelected. But that being the case, would a Conservative government do anything different? It's not like they've been great to the Canadian Armed Forces and veterans in the past. So are they going to figure out a way to rebuild trust? But if you had a chance to rebuild trust, what would be your first step? Curious to know in the comments. So let's hit them. Ethos and Eris. Let's put this one up here. There's always been old rumor floating around the forces that people never made it 5 years past their retirement. Yeah, it's pretty depressing. Yeah. So I guess I'm in the clear. I'm in the clear. It's a little morbid, but and we're speaking about veterans here, but if any of you folks are police officers or in the EMS world, first responders, you guys have it pretty rough too. And there's a lot of crossover, right? A lot of infantry guys or MPs, they go into policing maybe after, a 10, 15, 20-year career. They go, oh, that's a good transition. That's a rough job. I got a lot of friends that are cops, and I don't know how they do it. And it's too much trauma, too much hit to the central nervous system for so long that oftentimes like they just, they have a hard time coping, right? It's almost like the stress keeps you in line, the stress of the job. And then when that's gone, it's like you all of a sudden have to deal with all those things that you saw and did, and it's just too much. So you go into a downward spiral. But that's why I'm hoping channels like this and like figuring out how to get yourself healthy, and at least at the bare minimum, go start walking and have a community to help you do that, so that you can actually go get therapy and like know that there's folks that have gone through it and you're not alone. And like I've been in the basement wondering, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, is this it? Like, should I even continue? Like, I've had those dark thoughts too, man. But I didn't have anybody calling me saying like, oh yeah, Dave, you know what? You're right. Fuck your family. We're going to kill you and we're going to save a bunch of money. Nobody did that, thankfully. So I'm not going to say I'm in the clear, but I'm definitely a lot better than I was, like significantly better. So let's go back to the comments. Starting to think that this is now being quantifiable. Yeah, I'd say so too. I'm assuming you're talking about the amount of folks that are actually being offered MAID. Let's see here. We got the frozen Canadian, respect from Alberta Ranchland. Sir, yeah, absolutely. We're heading out to BC, so we won't be too far away when we head out in a few weeks. So my experience in Alberta is Wainwright and visiting family in Calgary, and really enjoyed it. So thanks for keeping Canada full of oil and beef. Keep it up. And that rebel spirit. Well done. Let's head over to Cindy. How will this play out with the new rainbow recruits? Curious. Or are they just talking about veterans? Well, those rainbow recruits will eventually be veterans as well. I don't quite know, other than the brief contact I have with folks that are still in about recruiting, and I've been doing a PT program with some recruits. I don't think there's really that many that are in, I'll be honest, because they're not the right demographic. You can market all you want. I think it's just folks that are, dyeing their hair at a protest. That's just my take on it. I don't know. Maybe if you're still in, you can tell me. But I think mostly this whole like we want to call it woke agenda. I don't know what you want to call it, but this slide into a lack of discipline, let's put it that way, is just a phase. From what I heard, we've got sergeant majors that are about to crack down on beards and hair and all that stuff, which is inevitable. Somebody's going to come in and crack the whip, and then people are going to join again. And guess what? There's probably going to be a war on the horizon. So, hey, man, like perfect timing. Anyways, I went on a little bit of tangent there, but thanks for the comment. Nick, thanks for commenting, bro. We sit in the emergency room for 12 hours here in Quebec. Doctors are already overloaded. What if there's an error of someone's chart? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how this thing's administered. I'll be honest. Yeah, you remember back in the day, for you guys that are old enough, I think most of the folks here are old enough. Dr. Kevorkian, Dr. Death. I think he was in California. He's American, right? Everybody knew Dr. Kevorkian. SNL used to make fun of him. He was Dr. Death. He was the maid guy back in the day when it wasn't really legal. It's not legal in the States as far as I know. But he was the guy you went to if you wanted to off yourself, Dr. Kevorkian. So do we have the analog to that here in Canada? There's clearly 35,000 deaths. How many do we have here? If we check back in on this stat, we have 13,500 deaths and 3,663 from Quebec. That's insane. Still like really blown away by that number. 2023 might even be worse. So yeah, what if you make a mistake? Exactly. What do you do? Oops. I mean, death by medical interventions quite high. It's like it's one of the top 3 when you go to the hospital, I think. Don't quote me on that, but it's pretty high. Like mistakes happen, like lots of mistakes happen. Imagine it was just like, well, this guy came in for knee surgery, but sorry, honey, sorry, like, man, we killed your husband. Oops. Let's go back to Ethos and Eros. I put in an access to information request for a snapshot of December 2023, but they still haven't responded to me. Yeah, I'd like to know a little bit more about how all this A-tipping is going on too. It seems like the legislation's there, the law is there, but it seems like they can just say, yeah, we just don't have the documents. Sorry. But they clearly do have the documents, but they just don't want to release them. So then, like, what do you do? It seems like we're just completely lawless and essentially at the top, there's no accountability. There's no actual arm of the government because it's literally King Charles, who's the actual last line that says, you must do this. That is never going to do that. So that's why I posted on X yesterday or the day before that we need to be a republic. I'm getting deep into the politics here, guys, but yeah, I mean, if we don't have anybody like the head of state that can actually do stuff, our technical head of state is appointed by the prime minister. That makes no sense. That the justice minister is appointed by the prime minister. The CDS is the last line for any grievance that comes based on any of his orders. How does our system work? It's like it was exposed completely. Go rewatch the podcast with Andy Stump and Catherine. Stump was stumped. It's like, that doesn't sound like a good system of government. It's not. Our system sucks. It completely sucks. Anyways, I said it right here. We're starting a republic, folks. We're starting a republic. Diagolon is going to be the first. I just shut down my show by repeating it. We're a bunch of racists. All right, Tanya. I agree with you, Cindy, and we have a crime minister. Ooh, I like that. Exacerbating drugs and addictions, and yet they are voting on Monday to make it even harder for the use of natural health products in Canada. Yeah, I heard about that too. Interesting how all these things kind of align at the same time. As long as they don't touch my creatine and whey powder, I'll be all right. My Tongat Ali, I'll be okay with that. As long as they don't touch that. What's your request, Nick? Should I get Timo back on? Yeah. I don't know if he would. I don't know. Let's text him later. Let's see if he get on. I don't know. I don't know if you want to get embroiled in all of this politics stuff. Might want to stay in his lane of ER doctoring and survival. And last comment here before we wrap up. Cindy, I know it's ridiculous. You guys are having a conversation in here. It's cool. It's ridiculous. I'm into natural plants and learning a lot about Earth's naturals. Hey, if you'd like me to do an episode on all the awesome natural herbal remedies, like I'm all in. Like this is what I do. I try new stuff, try new supplements. Fingers crossed, I'll have a supplement deal with a company from Quebec, bientôt, and I'm pretty pumped about that. But yeah, if you want me to do a pod on that, yeah, let me know. Like, drop it in the comments. Like, just say yes. You want me to talk about like new supplements and herbal remedies and stuff? I've been thinking about it, and I'll give you a kind of primer of like one I already had crafted, but I didn't go ahead and actually record. Was to get rid of spike protein. There's actual peer-reviewed research on how to detoxify and get that out of your system. So just saying that might be relevant if you'd like to learn about that from my perspective and go over the paper and see what the protocol actually entails. I tried it. Now I have no quantifiable evidence that it worked, but I don't know. I feel better. I got rid of the spike. It's gone. I'm spike free. Drop it in the comments. Say, drop spike in the comments. And if I get 2 comments that say spike, I'll do the episode. I'll make it nice and easy, low barrier to get this episode done. Sorry, we're trying to show here. Tanya, cool. Always good to learn more. I'll take that as a spike. Okay, Cindy, we got spike. Nick, we got spike. Okay, we got her too. There we go. All right, we're doing a spike protein removal episode on YouTube. Again, I pray to the YouTube gods that the episode doesn't get pulled and they close my channel again. But this is all just to ensure that you guys have the best information moving forward to live the best life and thrive in this crazy new world that we're living in. And to that point, before I sign off, I said I wasn't going to shill again, but I lied. I got a brand new group. So I showed you the ad during the actual premiere. This here, as I open it up, is my Veterans Getting Fit AF group. I'm really just soft launching it now. I haven't gone hard into paint. The key thing is here, I've downloaded everything from my brain and 5 years of coaching online with veterans into this one group. Not only that, if you get in now, because you guys are loyal followers, I've made it a really, really good entry point price for you to hop in and essentially get one-on-one coaching. So if you want to lean out for summer, if you want to get a bit stronger, hell, you want to learn what my supplementation regimen is or what I do in order to like make sure my skin looks good. I don't know. I will literally answer these questions twice a week. And since there's only, do I have 11 people in here right now? Yeah, this is just like close people that I know and some clients already. You'll basically be getting free coaching, $28, right? Which normally costs significantly more. That's my offer to you. Hop in now. I'm going to post the link here so that you guys can actually take advantage of that. So if you know the platform school, I'm on it right now. And I'm just going to post this here. Hopefully that goes into the internet really well. I sound like a boomer. I hope that goes into the internet. There we go. There we go. So there we go. Just posted that in there. Have a poke around. If you guys have any questions, drop me a message. Okay. Super easy. Find me on Instagram at Dave Morrow PT or the Hard to Kill podcast. Drop me a message there, or find me on any of the other platforms, X at the Hard to Kill pod, or LinkedIn, Dave Morrow. Find me there. So ladies, gentlemen, I really appreciate you tuning in to this live. We got a great turnout, 122. Holy moly. Wow. That's awesome. So don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button, and don't forget to share widely with your network. And next time we run a premiere, we'll be doing a live to have a nice little discussion here in the comments as well. So don't forget, train hard, fight easy. I'll see you on the next one. Have a great weekend. Peace.